All right, everybody. I hope you're doing well. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at a primary source related to the Oregon Trail. So you did the background information today in the reading, or excuse me, in the background information in the video today that kind of talked about the journey of what to expect. You have to understand what these people were facing. They were facing a, 1,000-mile plus voyage west with very primitive technology. So something to think about as we are discussing what these people were dealing with. So what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of read over this as we go through here to kind of help with word recognition. So we have a primary source. In the spring of 1843, more than 1,000 pioneers began the first large migration from Independence, Missouri, which is city of Missouri, to the Oregon Territory. Jesse Applegate led those pioneers who owned cattle in the slow-moving cow column. What impressions of travel on the Oregon Trail does this excerpt from Applegate's account convey? So in other words, how is this description, what is it telling us about their voyage, okay? From 6 to 7 o'clock is a busy time. Breakfast is to be eaten, the tents struck, the wagons loaded, and the teams yoked and brought up in readiness to be attached to their respected wagons, teams meaning the oxen. All know when, at 7 o'clock, the signal to march sounds that those not ready to take their proper places in the line of march must fall into the dusty rear for the day. And you got to talk about, excuse me, the fact that these are wagons in a huge line on a single trail. There are 60 wagons. They have been divided into 15 divisions or platoons of 4 wagons each, and each platoon is entitled to lead in its turn. The leading platoon of today will be the rear one tomorrow and will bring up the rear unless some teamster, through indolence or negligence, has lost his place in line and is condemned to that uncomfortable post. So if they do something that causes them to have to go to the end. It is within 10 minutes of 7, the corral, but now a strong barricade is everywhere broken, the teams being attached to the wagons. The women and children have taken their places in them. The pilot, a borderer who has passed his life on the verge of civilization and has been chosen to the post of leader from his knowledge of the savage and his experience in travel through roadless wastes. That means being in this situation, talking about natives, unfortunately, we see that reference there with savages, stands ready in the midst of his pioneers and aides to mount and lead the way. It is on the stroke of 7, the rushing to and fro, the cracking of the whips, the loud command to oxen, and what seems to be the inextricable confusion of the last 10 minutes has ceased. Fortunately, everyone has been found, and every teamster is at his post. The clear notes of the trumpet sound in the front. The pilot and his guard mount their horses. The leading division of wagons moves out of the encampment. This means where they were staying, and takes up the line of march. The rest fall into their places with the precision of clockwork until the spot so lately full of life sinks back into that solitude that seems to reign over the broad plain and rushing river as the caravan draws its lazy length toward the distant El Dorado. We are full 6 miles away from the line of march, though everything is dwarfed by the distance. It is seen distinctly. That means what they see in afar is obviously small because they're not there yet. The caravan, again, this group of people collectively as one unit, has been about 2 hours in motion and is now extended as widely as a prudent regard for safety will permit. Okay, that means the line is as far back as possible, but they don't want people to get lost or not knowing where they're going. First near the bank of the shining river is a company of horsemen. They seem to have found an obstruction, for the main body has halted while 3 or 4 ride rapidly along the bank of the creek or slough. They are hunting a favorable crossing for the wagons. While we look, they have succeeded. It has apparently required no work to make it passable, for all but one of the party has passed on and he has raised a flag. no doubt a signal to the wagons to steer their course to where he stands. So they're trying to keep away from some kind of obstacle that's going to keep them from moving forward. The leading teamster sees him through. He is yet 2 miles off and steers his course directly toward him. All the wagons following in his track. They, the wagons, form a line 3/4 of a mile in length. Some of the teamsters ride upon the front of their wagons. Some walk beside their teams. Scattered along the line, companies of women and children are taking exercise on foot. They gather bouquets of rare and beautiful flowers that line the way. Near them stalks a stately greyhound or an Irish wolf dog, apparently proud of keeping watch and ward over his master's wife and children. But a little incident breaks the monotony of the march. That means the process. An immigrant's wife whose state of health has caused Dr. Whitman to travel near the wagon for the day is now taken with violent illness. The doctor has had the wagon driven out of the line, a tent pitched, and a fire kindled. Many conjectures are hazarded in regard to this mysterious proceeding and as to why this lone wagon is to be left behind. So in other words, people are wondering what's going on. And this was common on the trail because you were in a situation where you were out in the middle of nowhere and you had to have somebody with you that had some kind of medical knowledge. And at this time, we're not talking about it being very advanced. So these are the questions I want you to think about and respond to. Describe a typical day on the Oregon Trail based on what you read. What kind of obstacles make traveling on the Oregon Trail difficult? So think about a couple that you could think of and refer to the text. And then what dangers threaten the lives of early settlers, okay? So remember, we're looking at a primary source, someone who was there, someone who experienced it, and drawing from their experience, describe what it would be like to be in this situation where you're going to an area out west that has, who knows how long it's going to take. The knowledge of the terrain is limited for a lot of these people, and they're taking a great risk. That's the one thing we have to talk about. This is a great risk, okay? If you have any questions, reach out to me on Canvas. I hope you're all doing well. We'll talk to you soon.